joining us. I am Yori Folari. And so now the collation is over and the result is known. President Muhammadu Buhari has indeed been declared the winner of the 2019 presidential election and for his second term. Okay, my guests this morning to look at it, Ahmed Dada Abbas, lawyer and public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Indeed. And sitting right next to him, Mr. Ademola Adigoke, communications consultant. Good morning.
Good
thank
morning.
you very much for coming.
Nigerians.
Indeed. All of Nigeria has been keeping vigil with this particular project, and largely it's well known, culminating in the declaration of President Muhammadu Buhari as the winner of the elections. We'll just put everything together before we come back to studio and start the conversation.
That Muhammadu Buhari of the All Progressive Congress, having satisfied the requirements of the law and scored the highest number of votes, is hereby declared winner and is returned elected.
After this announcement declaring Muhammadu Buhari winner of the 2019 presidential election, party members at the APC presidential campaign office erupted in jubilation. APC national leader Bola Tinubu, Governor of Lagos State Akinwumi Ambode, Zamfara State Governor Abdulaziz Yari, Tanko Almakura of Nasarawa State, and other APC governors also came in to celebrate with the president and his vice president, Professor Yemi Oshibajo.
In particular, I would like to thank Asuwaju Bola for his masterful leadership as co-chair of the campaign council. I am very sad at the grievous loss of lives during these elections. Security agencies will step up their efforts to protect the voters in the forthcoming state elections.
Bola Tinubu speaks on what this victory means for Nigeria.
Today is for genuine Democrats, very genuine Democrats, to accept, respect the result of this free and fair election as declared. INEC has done a fantastic job. From our party, progress, development for this country, hope that is never been there.
For us in Nasarawa State, we are so happy that we are breaking the jinx for the first time in the history of the Third Republic or Fourth Republic. We have been able to have Mr. President win his election in Nasarawa State.
Through reflection of Nigerians and appreciation of what Muhammadu Buhari has done for the past 4 years.
The level of confidence expressed is so high, and it comes with a greater responsibility. And I believe he has totally resolved in his heart to ensure that the lives of the people of this country are changed in the next 4 years.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who defeated his closest rival, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, to win the 2019 presidential election, said security agencies will bring to justice all those arrested in the process. Maria Olashainde, TVC News.
Well, gentlemen, there we have it, a quick roundup of how the news was received, that Nigeria knows its president for the next 4 years. Let me start out with you, Ahmed. Was it as close as you had thought, or was it wider, the results? We're looking at 11 million and some to 15 million and some.
It was, do I say, it was wider than we anticipated.
Okay, wider.
Yeah, no, we anticipated, because
which is saying something for the gallant efforts of the opponent.
Yeah, of course, they tried their best, but the honest truth was is that their house wasn't in order. That's the honest truth. Their house was not in order.
Okay.
So you could see from the onset that PDP wasn't going to fly at all. And the negative publicity, because if you interrogate the narrative, the conversation that was ongoing, the story about PDP was a looting clan of people, and I think a lot of people swallowed and believed that narrative very well, and it worked against them, because if you interrogate our history, the bedrock of our problem, everybody believed, was corruption. That the political class hijack the public spaces and use it to advance their personal and their selfish interests. That is where we are today. So anybody that stands for checkmating that ideology, I mean, is well received by Nigerians. Because if you look at it, the major thrust of Buhari's agenda or manifesto or CV is he's an anti-corruption, guru, and he's naturally he's a prudent and very frugal president. I mean, you may not like the man, but the honest truth remains that everybody believes the president is not a thief, the vice president is not a thief.
And so
it's not a looter.
Exactly. Yes. And moving forward, there are those who expect that this particular aspect is going to be reinvigorated in the next term.
I have no doubt, because most times second-term agenda usually hinder leaders in authority from performing very well. But now he has no third-term possibility. If he's going to break people's leg, I mean, I'm using it metaphorically. They should ruthlessly,
in terms of pursuing
they should reinvigorate, re-engineer our criminal administration system, the judiciary, and everything that will make people to be accountable in public offices. One of the things you cannot take away is that this election, money didn't fly the way it used to fly during the election. I'm not saying, because I wasn't everywhere, I can't say it didn't fly, but the honest truth is that you didn't see people carrying money to traditional rulers, giving them dollars and all the rest of them. It didn't happen during this election. It didn't happen.
And you think that had a significant effect on the outcome?
Yes, it had. It had.
Well, okay.
It had.
That's actually a sad comment.
It had.
Let me come to you. With the votes that were invalidated, that had to be cancelled for one reason or the other, people have said that was unnecessarily, high, and I imagine it's possible. One recalls that when the late Yaradua came to office, he had opined that, he acknowledges that there were issues with the election that brought him to power, and proceeded to see what could be done to fix those issues. Now, people being disenfranchised as a result of the cancellation of votes, because people voted, their votes didn't count in the overall interest of, look, these are the rules and this is the way we have to play. Do you think we need to address that? Because I think it's in the region of 5 million or so total across the country that were disallowed?
Yes, we surely it's an issue that needs to be addressed. But definitely when you are looking at an issue, you don't just look at the symptom, or you look at the cause as well. And so in this instance, I think we need to ask ourselves, why were the votes invalidated? Number one, INEC has a share of the blame, because some of the part of the cancellation was due to failure of the card reader machine to capture people's biometrics. Yeah. So that means that INEC has to up its game to ensure that such doesn't happen in subsequent elections. We have to perfect our system. We have to perfect our system. INEC, and people have been saying that with all the funds made available to INEC, for this election to be seamlessly organized. It's still, it still saddens one that we are still having this type of, failure of the process.
Yes.
So the system, the systemic issue there is that INEC has to look, at its own system and procedure to ensure that, it perfects such. Now, still talking about the cause of cancellation, we also need to talk to our politicians that election is no war, because part of the cancellation too was due to, violence, ballot box snatching, and when that happens, INEC will be left with no other option than to, invalidate the votes.
Which also speaks to another aspect, which is that of security, and so much was allocated, devoted to this election generally, as the INEC chairman said one time in the course of all of this, that we are not complaining in terms of having the wherewithal to conduct an election. We are not complaining. Still, the president reflected on the unfortunate deaths in this election. There are those who are saying that it shouldn't even have happened. But then at the same time, we have also heard said alongside that we have to make up our minds. We don't want uniformed people armed at elections.
And that is the issue.
And if people know that there's nobody armed to stop us. If we are
talking about security, because the security agencies, they have their constraints when it comes to the policing of the electioneering process. You don't want to over-militarize the electioneering process. Otherwise, it's no more democracy.
So it's about a fine balance, really.
So, fine balance.
So you don't want to scare people away.
You don't want to scare people away, because by the time you over-militarize the electioneering process, people will be scared, and it will still, end up in disenfranchising people indirectly. So I think there has to be a new, electoral culture in the country, that our politicians should know that in any contest there must be a winner and there must be a loser. Indeed. And no one is good enough, to rule over the other without the consent of that person. No one is good enough. Okay. So if you really want to, if you are actually coming for service, and I say I don't want to, there should be no force there.
Ahmed, another aspect of this whole election, the president, Buhari is back for another 4 years, but seeming voter apathy has become an issue. Well, take Lagos for instance. When you look at the number of registered voters, and you look at when you look at the PVCs that were collected, a significant drop, and then those that even voted, and then the results. There are those who have commented that, well, the whole notion that, the Southwest, Lagos is under a certain one block almost. That notion might have taken a hit given the results for Lagos. When you look at the figures for Lagos, where are we now?
I think over 800 to 600 plus for PDP. A little over 800.
So this matter, what happened? Why the voter apathy, a seeming voter apathy?
Well, I think one of the things that has impacted negatively on the voters' turnout is that, in spite of our advancement in democratic practice, there are still those who believe that the government has actually not impacted so much on their lives, and so therefore a lot just still believe they vote. They don't.
Looking at how close it is, 580,000 to 448.
That whether they vote or they don't vote, their votes may not count, and so some of them sat back at home. And secondly, the postponement in some other areas, I think, also affected the turnout of voters. And beyond that, the close gap, especially in the Southwest, in all the states and not the rest of it, it's also a reflection of the political development, or can I say the political sophistication. Thank you. The political sophistication of the society. It means the society is actually ideologically
maybe pluralistic.
Yes, pluralistic. So you do not have one way.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
it is not. It is
not necessarily a bad thing.
No. Wherever you have a society where people face one direction, in fact, it's a dangerous society. So it's because of the sophistication of the society. It's a pluralistic society, like you rightly said. So people hold dearly their convictions, and they, without any iota of bitterness. No. Because in the same family, you see a husband and wife.
Indeed.
I'm for APC.
Yes.
And the husband says, well, I'm for PDP. And that's big. Brothers.
It reminds me of our Reverend Dominic in Lagos, one of our viewers,
Yes.
who is constantly saying that he's in one party, his wife is another party.
Yes,
They're living
and
together in one house.
Yes, it's good. So because the society must constantly have option between probably two conflicting ideology. So I think the Southwest is actually balanced in terms of, its ideological divide. So that's why you see this margin, close margin between the relatively close margin. So that's my take on it.
You concur on that?
No, I do, just to support him, because you see, on the day of election, I called home. I'm from Ekiti State, and I called two younger brothers, and I said, how's the election going? And two of them were together. And he was telling, the younger one was telling me, I'm beating him already. So, and they were
in the same family.
Joking, in the same family. They were both joking about it. So I think the Southwest region has shown itself as the most, politically pluralistic region in this country. When you look at the closeness of the margin, in Oyo, it's less than 2,000. If you are even talking of Lagos. In Ondo, it's just about 8,000. It's only in, even in the Osho, it's just about, the difference is just about 10,000 between the two parties. And it's only in Ogun that you have about 65,000, margin. So the Southwest is, has proven its political sophistication,
The part of the whole, what do you think one of our problems, perennial problems of people, ethnic voting, which unlike what you've just commented relating to the Southwest, how much of a role do you think that played? Because you look at headlines, hefty votes from Northwest, Northeast, Buhari re-elected president says this morning, as an indication of this particular matter. Were these ways expected and to be expected, or was there anything wrong with that?
See, if you are a student of Nigerian politics, you should know, like in America, you have the red states and the blue states. there are states that come.
Whatever happens,
where
they are the most likely to vote.
Nobody should say they are surprised that the South and the Southeast turned out to be a PDP state. It shouldn't be surprising. And the Northwest also, the Northern Bloc, usually, once they have a candidate that is popular, you can be rest assured that the entire North will go that way. It's not in doubt at all. It's not in doubt at all. And the credibility of Muhammadu Buhari in 2015 and 2019, there are lots of people in the North who still believe tremendously that his integrity is intact.
You look at Kano votes, for example, 1.4 million, to PDP's 391,000.
Yes. So it's taken for granted, sir.
Expectedly, PDP has, demurred in some instances that, look, we're not happy at all. In fact, as you know, as it was being collated, the PDP chairman, his complaints. He was very vocal about his complaint. So I suppose the battle is now going to shift to the courts. I think I made the comment yesterday, and everybody knows that even President Muhammadu Buhari himself, this is his fourth time. It was his fourth attempt that he actually got into office, and every time he pursued his mandate to the court until finally making it. So we can look forward to that, or is that something that you take for granted?
No. We look forward to it. The Nigerian, the average Nigerian politician hardly hardly loses fairly. You know, he believes that he is being rigged out. Even when you look, even when, you know, the facts are so clear.
Yes.
You know, the Nigerian politician believes that. If you look at, it's not just PDP that has been complaining. Even APC in places where they lost. Akpabio lost in Akwa Ibom, and he complained that there were irregularities. Ajimobi too, even though he congratulated the winner in Oyo, he said there were irregularities. But I think for me, the Nigerian politician just has to come to terms with the reality of the power of the people to choose their leaders. And once the people speak, we should just, as Democrats, we should just align with the people. If you ask me, I will say that this election, for me, it's an improvement on the 2015 election.
Because I was going to ask that.
It's an improvement.
I was going to ask that, you know, do you think it moved forward from INEC's performance, you know, in 2015?
It did, and I'm going to give you these reasons. If you look at the figures posted, you know, in 2015 and those of 2019, and you juxtapose them together, I don't know whether anybody has looked at it, that there is a drop. There has been a drop. For example, in Kano, Kano posted 2 million for Buhari. Delta posted 1.2 for PDP. Rivers posted 1.4 for PDP. Go and look at the, you know, in Rivers, the figures for the two parties now are less than 800,000. Same for Delta. And what is the reason? The reason is that the process now is such that, you know, the process has been developed with the card reader machine. You cannot, you know, vote without the card reader capturing your biometrics. And so that has weeded out, you know, fraud. So you cannot, so the days of writing figures, you know, are gone.
There was a strict adherence to the card reader in places, and in other places the card reader didn't work, leading to
invalidation
of vote and consequent disenfranchisement of legitimate voters.
So if you ask me, I will say that, you know, we have moved, you know, from where we were in 2015. And if you look at it, if you look at the figures, if you look at, you know, the states won by each of the parties, you almost could predict. You understand? You almost, so it's, for me, those figures are a reflection of, you know, the political leanings of the different places. They have, because nobody will have expected Atiku to defeat Buhari in Kano, for example. Kano has been, for anybody, if you are a student of Nigerian politics, you will know that Buhari has never lost in Kano. And aside from that, Kano, you know, since the days of Malam Aminu Kano, has been the bastion of progressive politics in this country. And that is why, even when, you know, because we are talking of ethnicity in voting, even when Abiola was, you know, contesting against their own son, Bashir Tofa, he won in Kano because of that culture of progressive politics in Kano. So you can almost, so for me, you know, you can, the politicians will make their noise about, you know, there has been rigging, there were irregularities and all that, but we know, you know, what actually happened.
Okay, good morning, Mr. George. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to your guest.
Good morning. Good morning.
Uncle Yori, you can see why I was drinking coffee on Monday. The PDP had all these plans right from the beginning. If you recall, they were already claiming that they would go to court even before the election took place. It's part of the Dubai plan. Let us see what they will get from the court. These hints have already reached the other camp, and I know that they are also prepared for them. Be that as it may, I think the president should just shun sentiment and go straight into business. We want those who are stealing our money to begin to return them now or get ready to go to jail. We want ministers who are not performing to be changed. We want the infrastructural development that are taking place to take a faster, rate of development. So that I don't want a situation where you use 6 months again to select ministers. We have a situation where it's like a last chance for this country. Now that the Almighty has given it to us, we must not waste time. But Priori, what I do not understand is the situation in Lagos. When the APC when they did the direct primary against Ambode, they had 1 million votes against the gentleman, and there were 70,000 people that supported Ambode in their midst. What happened to the 1 million voters? Let us even assume that it's only the APC members alone that voted. Why didn't they vote? Is it that they don't have PVC, or what has happened? It has shown that talking is not the same thing as voting. Those who vote are the masses, and you see they have spoken. I told you before that the vocal few, they are just few, but they are very vocal. One person will be going from one TV radio station to the other to criticize the government, just to see that people are discouraged from voting for this man who wants to repair Nigeria. That's what has happened.
Indeed.
But you can say that at the end of the day, truth prevails. So I congratulate Mr. President and urge him to face the business of the day and forget about triviality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, gentlemen, President Buhari has got another term, but for the moment, it was a very vibrant field. And I'm not just talking about the main challenger being PDP. When you look at all the other parties, nobody really expected, let us be truthful about this matter, nobody expected that in this first attempt they were going to be causing any serious concerns. But if all of them had actually come to, all of them couldn't have come together, but if they had been mergers, because I think, first of all, there's a sense in which, as President Buhari is being congratulated, looking at the rest of the field, it was a positive development. Most commentators were saying that the first step has been taken to a possible difference between either black or white. There's a lot of gray in between that might actually be valuable. How well do you think all of those guys did, generally speaking?
Well, making an attempt in itself is commendable. It's commendable. YPP, for example, has a senator now.
Indeed.
He has a senator. So I'm sure even in subsequent House of Assembly election, we are going to see some pocket full of one party here, one new party here, and all the rest of them. And it is good for our development. Let's begin to infuse, our political space with, different parties, different people with different ideology, and I'm sure that in no distant time we will have a situation where there will be probably 3-4 contending parties at the state level, at the national level. It's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey. So we will keep encouraging more people to come into the space. And I know in another 4 years' time, you could see some of those parties, causing some disruption in some states and local governments, and even at the national level. They've learned their lesson, I presume, and probably there could be some alliances and mergers in 2023 by the grace of God.
Okay, President Buhari declared winner in the 2019 presidential election. Dr. Sydney in Alimosho, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, you're welcome. As regards the just concluded election, though there are some irregularities, but President Buhari remains the president-elect or re-elected until proven otherwise.
Indeed.
And be that may, one of the issues for the last 4 years was nepotism and him being silenced when people were murdered in the North Central and some other places with the alleged Fulani herdsmen. That should be corrected. Then, even if the election was rigged, though I'm a PDP member, but what I would say is what goes around comes around. For 16 years, PDP has the opportunity to strengthen our institutions, but they didn't because they were benefiting from it. So it has caught up with them.
Okay.
And
well,
I just want to say congrats to President-elect.
Oh, okay. Congrats. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Sidney, although you did make that controversial statement there about commenting about rigging of the elections. As you know, all options are open to whoever has issues. There are all the channels available. So, well, I guess you ended up saying that you, in spite of being in the PDP, wanted to congratulate the winner of the 2019 presidential election. It's just that that statement about it being rigged has no supportive evidence whatsoever as we speak, because evidence is just not a matter of your emotions, your sentiments, your thinking. It has to be hard, because to say that, you're going to have to persuade a judge, persuade a court.
It's
you're going to have to persuade a court of law.
The law.
Yes.
That he who alleges must prove.
Indeed. So there's Abbas here who knows that better than
he who alleges.
So,
I'm not a lawyer.
It's an interesting point.
But he who alleges must prove.
But then Dr. Sidney, he was cool. He said, look, let it be said. And then he referred to the fact that, the main opposition party, he said, being a member himself of that party, that they had 16 years to do stuff, didn't do it, and so here we are. But I suppose President Buhari will be, it's not the nature of the man from the way we see him, those of us that are not in his inner caucus. It's not the nature of the man, I don't think, to, be concerning himself with. He's probably going to swing into action because as has just been said, there are a number of things on the shopping list. I think, was it Mr. George who said that, look, took 5 months, well, he said 6 months, took 5 months to come up with. So now all of that has been done. We probably need to see a niftier pace now. Because 4 years just passes by almost in a blink of an eye.
Maybe taking off from the contribution of the last
Dr. Sidney.
Yeah, he made some very germane points about what the president needs to do. Now you see the politics, for me, the era of politics is over.
As far as the presidential election is concerned,
it's time for re-governance. Like Abbas said earlier, like he said earlier, the first term, whatever program the government has in its first term is usually hindered, slowed down by second term ambition.
Considerations.
Yeah. Now that has been done, we expect President Buhari to graduate from the politician that he was in his first term to a statesman. John F. Kennedy says that politicians think of the next election, but statesmen think of the next generation.
Okay, I've got to bring, I beg your pardon, I've got to bring in Aminu in Kaduna. Good morning, Aminu.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. So my contribution is that the problem in this country, our politicians, they don't want to learn how to consist defeat. So I expect Atiku to congratulate Mr. President. At least, even if he didn't win by this time, at least there's still another day for him. So there is time for everything in life. So I congratulate my able president, President Buhari. So may Allah be with him. So and I expect him to carry everybody along, because that is both people that vote for you and the ones that didn't vote for you. Everybody are your men. So take everybody along. So that is my advice for him. Thank you, sir.
Indeed, thank you very much, Aminu, calling in from Kaduna there. Now it goes back to what you were saying about now is the time for governance.
It's the time for governance. So he has now to, you see, in democracy, the beauty of democracy is that the majority will have their way. but the minority will have their say. But then, we cannot dismiss that say by the minority with a wave of the hand that they are making no point. Sydney raised the issue of nepotism. You know, that the president has been accused of being,
of nepotism.
Of being nepotistic in his approach to governance. I think it is time for the president to look at that. It is also time for the president to look at how to build our institutions. And then it is time for the president to see how he leaves an enduring legacy. He should not be asking himself, by the time I leave here in 4 years' time, what will Nigerians, remember me for? So this should be the consideration. There has been this talk of hunger in the land. It is time for the president to pay attention.
Okay, let me bring in Shaba. Shaba in Abuja. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in. Please go ahead.
I just want to congratulate the new president for his re-election. But
Well,
it's my
maybe the refreshed president. Maybe the refreshed president.
The refreshed president, yes. And it's my prayer that this second term ticket that he has received, he will shun away nepotism in all his appointments, so that we should be able to carry all Nigerians along.
Okay. Well, that's the point.
That's just my prayer.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, it's interesting. This point is made. It's that this allegation is made. As we know, there are actually guidelines for how Nigerian presidents, appoint officials. You have to go right around the country. You have to appoint ministers from every state of the country.
The principle of federal character.
The principle of federal character must be, all of that is in there. But it is noted. It is noted. Okay, sorry, that was not for me. No, sorry, I was just getting distracted there. But
calls.
Yeah, when people make these allegations, they probably do so for good reason, as they see it. But there are guidelines, and the president. One of the reasons the president has been accused of being slow, cited the 5 months it took to come up, 5-6 months it took to come up with his cabinet. But in spite of that, he's thought to be thorough. Now, Nigerians are saying, sir, the thoroughness is good. The thoroughness you had that time should be enough for 8 years. Part of that thoroughness, please don't reboot. Don't reboot, just continue the momentum of that thoroughness. That is over and done with, because I think Nigerians really need to see action, because we're going to come out of the jubilation phase and settle down to the business of running this country, which is not the easiest job of all. So that, I think, is what people are wanting. And the matter of nepotism, which is really favoritism, means the president insists on appointing only people that are close to him, or really people that are related to him. That is a thing he's heard over and over again, and know how he's going to have to address it. Idris in Ilorin, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Please go ahead. Thank you for calling in.
I'm a first-time caller here. I've been listening to your program in
Oh,
South Africa.
we're delighted to have you, Idris. Thank you for calling in. For continuing.
The country to cast my vote, which I'm delighted to see what is going on in Nigeria. I really hope Mr. President will do the needful. Needful is for him to fight corruption and work hard for us. That's our prayer for him. We need change, and change must begin for us. That's it.
Thank you very much
so
for
I wish
calling.
the government very well.
Indeed, thank
and
you.
What is happening in Kwara State, my worry and verification to what is happening. So the next level is next 2 weeks. Thank you so much.
Exactly. Okay, you just mentioned Kwara State. That reminds me of Senate President Saraki, who has said that he was rigged out in Kwara State. You've made the point about Nigerian politicians. Anything goes not the way they were planning it. It's because there was, interference. We've heard all sorts of emotions in this election. We heard the PDP chairman accuse just about everybody of colluding with the ruling party. I think he left out customs, but apart from that, the security, the Secret Service, the police, the army, everybody said was colluding, and that probably was when they had read the writing on the wall and knew where this was all going. Where this was all going. I guess there's a sense in which Nigerians have come to understand that we don't take defeat graciously. Okay, Ade is calling in from London. Good morning, Ade.
Good morning. Hi, Chief Yori.
It's just Yori. Thank you very much.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Mr. Yori, I expect you to wear Ashoke today. But you are wearing suit. It's a day of our joy. Why are you wearing suit? Please, tomorrow wear Ashoke.
It's just another working day for us. It's just another working day for us.
You have to rejoice.
Important as it is.
You have to rejoice for the unborn child that Nigeria will be better tomorrow, because this man, God has sent him to save the poor. You see? Because imagine if you have a flat, you are living in a house, God forbid, a thief came and pack everything away. That can make anybody in that place to commit suicide. But if you have a house, but you have not painted it, and somebody can say, there's a what you can do. You will paint your house. Gradually, it will be better for you. That is worry for you. So we thank God the other party didn't come into power. Nigeria will have become like Somalia. I'm telling you. We have houses in London here, they locked up. They bought the houses, they don't live there. BBC carry a program here on TV showing property of Saraki everywhere. And you want the same people to come. How can somebody say you want to sell NNPC to the poor people? That is selling the source of Nigeria. That's how they will understand it. And that person now will now vote him to power. It's not possible. You say, I will sell it to my friend. You can't say that in Europe. That my friend will buy me lunch. That's just lunch. You will lose your job because they believe there's conflict of interest. How can somebody want to be president say, I will sell NNPC to my friends? That is the last straw that breaks the camel back. So all those prophets that people will win, yes, it might be true. God might show them. But when he opens his mouth and says, we sell it, God changed his mind. God said, Ezekiah, you will die. Ezekiah prayed. God said the same prophet, said, you won't die again. But this one, God said you will be there. So you open your mouth and say you will sell the property of God changed his mind. Okay. God bless you. Have a nice day.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Again, pointing to the strategies of both parties. It's in the aftermath that it's in the aftermath. It's after these elections that we can now look back at the strategies and see where mistakes were made, if mistakes were made. But unfortunately, you don't have a chance. It's gone out. People have identified. I think Buhari just stayed on the whole matter about continuity and, as you have pointed out, the unceasing battle against corruption to get our country back as the bedrock of all the other things that need to be done, namely fixing the economy and all the other things that we want our country to do, right? So the strategies, the campaigns, it's interesting to look at it. Yeah. But what have we learned now? Because it's not over. We're going very shortly, very soon now, we'll be going into the governorship elections. And but there are things that not just INEC, but also the rest of us must have taken from this election. Are you... Okay, before I continue on the next, moving from here, let me bring in Yakub, who is on the line. Good morning, Yakub.
Yeah, Shijori, good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in.
And good morning to the two guys in the studio.
Good morning.
Shijori, thank God, we are almost there. Where am I using the word of we are almost there is that this time around, Mr. President should have interest who become the state president, who become House of Representative Speaker, so that we can have a smooth run this time around. Yes, we have won the election. Anybody that disagree with that result, you know where to go. The proper place to go is to court, and then we'll settle you out of court. Whatever will come out of court, we know that we are going to come out of court free. Some of us that supported this government from the word of go, Some people even thought that we are collecting money from Mr. President. I do tell them, Mr. President does not even have money to give some of us. We supported him based on our belief in him that he's going to take us to the grocer's land. I'm looking towards the day whereby the petroleum price will come down to something like 50 per liter. By the time the refinery of Dangote is working, we are looking towards that. I think maybe 2 years of this new administration. I'm looking towards the day that they will tell us that the petroleum price is now 50 naira per liter. So everything will just come down, and then people will know that President means business. Thank and God bless you.
Indeed. Thank you very much. So one down, talking about the presidential election, but a few more to come. Also the presidential, not just the presidential, also the National Assembly elections. There were surprises there in some instances. Maybe it depends on who you're talking to. You say that there were no surprises, but again, maybe there were. I think you mentioned Akpabio, for instance. There were, well, Saraki, depending on how you look at it, you know, some would say, oh, well, what happened to this whole strongman syndrome? It was supposed to be, you know, that family dynasty, what they say goes in Kwara. It didn't happen like that. Of course, there's been a response that I was rigged out, I'm looking at it, I was rigged out. Otherwise, the implication being that he would have won. But people will take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I think some of them do not, when you are in the corridors of power, sometimes you can be so insulated that you won't know what is happening on the street. Yeah. Even in 2015, when PDP was going to lose that election, I had close people who were literally, we had an argument, and I told them, I said, you see, sometimes you can actually be echoing your own voice within a room and think and come out and tell people that yes, there are voices there saying I'm the greatest guy that has ever come. And so that was what happened to most of them. The dynamics are changing. And Nigerians are becoming very brutal. Very, very
the electorate?
Brutal. Yes, they are becoming ruthless. Because the reality is that people are not feeling the impact of government. They are not feeling. And so they are getting wiser every day by day.
So the stories we used to hear about people being so gullible, you could give them a bottle of Fanta and a loaf of bread, and that would assure. Those kind of ridiculous stories are out.
Sir, this particular dispensation, you had, more younger persons coming in there that are in touch globally. The realities of what is happening in other climes is beginning to dawn on us. We have the human capital, the resources are there, and the impatience. People are becoming impatient. They want results. They want impact. They want to see transformation in their lives, economic transformation, infrastructural transformation, and all the rest of them. And when you sit on the other side of the divide and you are talking to people on this other side, sometimes they assume that the people on this side are actually dummies. And they fail to realize that the decision makers in this politics are actually not card-carrying members of any political party. The vast majority of those who decided the fate of the president, and they are not card-carrying members. Some are just sitting.
Some organs like the CUPP, the so-called, as you remember, tried to come in and influence. Former leaders of this country decided to throw their weight behind.
What about the wave of endorsements by the socio-political groups?
All of that. But you were just saying that the electorate has become more brutal than we ever knew.
More ruthless.
More ruthless.
More ruthless. And
by which you mean willing to go with their own mind,
standing by their convictions. And most of them are not card-carrying members. That's what I try to tell some parties that, look, your parties alone, members of your parties alone can actually not influence this election. They go with you, whether you are right or you are wrong. But there are those that are committed to the progress of Nigeria.
Do you think a pattern has been set, because we still have more elections to come? Do you know, initially when we were looking at the order of elections, there were those who were against this particular order. Now that we have this result, as I was saying earlier, one down, more to come. Do you think this will reflect on behavior at the polls in coming elections?
Yeah, of course, the possibility of a bandwagon effect is there, that people will say, okay, but then, like he has said, the electorate is becoming more are more intelligent.
And the politicians can't take the electorate for granted anymore.
You see, anybody, like I said, as a politician, can amuse himself, to believe what he wants to believe. But that doesn't change the narrative on the street. Before the election, because I am one person that likes, to gauge the pulse of the people in different places, even before the election. I called one of the states where one of the top politicians lost, and I said, what's happening? And he told me, he said, see, we have decided that we are going to change this man, even though he's been spending money, like money is going out of circulation tomorrow. He's been spending so much money, but we have made up our minds that we are going to, send him out, and he was voted out. So if such a man now turns around to say, oh, I've been rigged, he never knew. Probably when, he was, listening to his own voice that he was going to win. He never knew what the people had already made up their mind about, that they were going to send him. So you're talking about the lessons from this election. The lessons from this election for me is that our politicians should now know that our people are getting wiser and wiser.
Okay.
They should learn what to do with power. That power is to serve the people and not to not to use
Which
it
is the
for
point
yourself.
Dr. Sidney made at the beginning.
Power is to be used
Speaking
to
as a
serve the people.
PDP member,
yeah,
he said, his party was there for 16 years, had every opportunity to do something, didn't do something.
Did you listen to Donald Duke?
Sorry, let me come back, and I'm going to remember that Donald Duke. I'm going to come back to that. Comrade Ayo in Oshogbo, good morning. Oh, sorry, we lost you, Comrade Ayo. Please try again. Yes, going back to the point you wanted to make.
Did you listen to what Donald Duke said concerning, as a former member of PDP, when he was talking about that, look, they were asking him, why didn't you use the structure of PDP and all the rest of them? He said, look, I know the party very well. That if you are going to fight corruption, you would step on many toes. It's in the open.
No. He said it. But then you have people like President Obasanjo throwing his weight.
As a founding member of a party, for him to have told the entire world that I know that party very well.
It's a commentary. This whole happening is a commentary on all those forces that came together. It was their right.
Yes.
It was their right that came together to say that we want someone other than President Buhari.
Yes.
And the electorate said, you have your wish, but we have the power.
Yes, it's an indication that all parties should learn that when you have the opportunity, when you are given power, use the power to advance the cause of Nigerians.
Indeed. One moment, please. Ibrahim in Kano, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for calling in.
You are welcome. I'm calling from Kano. I'm an indigenous of Ilorin, Kwara State.
Okay.
So the issue of Saraki that you people are talking about, Saraki has really offended Kwarans and Kwarans everywhere. So we use our vote. Somebody like me, I'm from Kano, I have to travel to Ilorin to go and cast my vote. We use our vote to send Saraki out of the system. The impact of Saraki is not felt in Ilorin. The government is not felt. Nobody felt the impact. So we use the opportunity to send them away. That is that for Kwara. Then as far as the president is concerned, the election that we got concluded, we want Mr. President to go on business. Straightforward. People lost their job in last 4 years. A lot of people lost their job. A lot of companies closed up. So what we want is economic revolution. Thank you very much.
Okay. The economy does need attention. It really does need attention. And after all of this is said and done, and we get down to business, as I was saying earlier, and everybody knows it, corruption as the platform, the basis upon which everything is going to be done, we take that for granted. But when we've done that, for what? Now we can probably deal with the economy. Not probably. We don't even have a choice. We have to. We have to take it forward. But because this is an election, we were talking about the whole matter about getting into office, getting into power. And we were looking at not inconsiderable interests, aligning against what has now happened, but it still didn't happen, which again goes back. We can't say enough about the electorate, and politicians ought to take notice. They ought to take notice that, wait a minute, you can't take anything for granted anymore. We really have to, we really have to be up and doing, so that that is essentially what will be our campaign. Well, I'm told that we have to go. We would have liked to take many, many more calls, because I'm sure there's a lot of that. But can I just thank you, Ahmed? Thank you very much for coming on. Ahmed Abbas, lawyer and public affairs analyst, and Mr. Ademola Adegoke, communications consultant. No doubt you'll hear much more on the elections on TVC as we proceed with the day, and certainly much later on in the evening with Journalists Hangout, no doubt. Okay, I am Yori Folarin. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. Bye-bye for now.